Thank you for that. Just I wanted to ask a question, but yeah, talk about that. Talk about the point. Actually, many people in our society say that why U.S. don't, for example, why U.S. doesn't have an action for that, for this issue. But as we know that Syria is Arab country, so it is like an issue in our society. So we, as Arabian countries, we have to fix this problem. I mean, we don't have to say that we want, for example, somebody. We want, for example, someone. We want United States to come and help us in this. So we, as Arab countries, we have to fix this problem because this problem is belong to us. I mean, that's my point. Thank you.
As far as the resolution states, we're going to give a humanitarian support, which can be given by direct money to the countries or to NGOs in the form of that we back off, we give them the money, like the Red Cross, for example, which is a very international trusted organization, and it's found in all of the mentioned countries. So we don't need to talk actually about the military actions. We need to talk about helping people who are suffering outside of their countries and they're getting diseases and they're living in very, very bad conditions. And from my point of view, I'm a proponent of this law. That's it. Thanks.
I'm Mohammed Al-Kaisi from Iraq. Well, I just wanted to make a comment, not a question or something, but this resolution is about humanitarian support for people suffering out there. It's not about this broad image of America standing against Russia or something. It's about people dying out there and helping them. And it happened in Iraq, in Baghdad, and the U.S. With the UN and got some refugees out and helped them during the war and after the war. So, I don't think there's any reason to oppose such a resolution because it won't give enemies to the United States. It's just a humanitarian support. Thank you.
I just want to say that I support this resolution, but there is a question. Here I'd read this line, which says, we'll offer non-militarily humanitarian assistance to Syrian refugees working through those non-governmental organizations. And as my colleague just mentioned, Yahya, that it might be like the image of the US in the Arab world. Like here it says humanitarian and assisting non-governmental, non-militarily assistance, while the US government criticized Russia for selling military equipment to Syria. They continue to sell military equipment to Bahrain, where they they oppress their own citizens. So I'm supporting this resolution, but how sincere is it? Do they really want to help? Do we really want to help Syrians for being Syrians, or because is it humanitarian, or is it there's a backup, like a hidden agenda behind it? Because you see like what I'm saying. So, but I totally support this resolution. Thank you.
First, I agree with Iman. How sincere is this resolution? And at the same time, I agree with Samer that if the U.S. is intending to support like refugees or human rights, then it should not be only for Syria. It should be for all humans in the world who are suffering somehow, like what Wadia says about people in Burma or other places. So maybe the U.S. should cooperate with like a union or a committee of other countries, and as one unit, the whole world as a sum should give humanitarian aid as a sum, and not just like the U.S. gives something and like another country gives something. We should be like one unit doing something for the human sake, and not like just for special interests.
One question. Another thing that I feel from the words used here in the resolutions that it's not fully sincere, because I see that the United States of America act on the humanitarian aspect and they ignore the revolution itself and supporting the rights of the Syrian people. Just they want to help those refugees, and you do not mention anything about supporting the Syrian revolution and getting them or helping them in getting their liberty. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, we have time for one brief response before we settle this matter with a vote. All right. As you know, USA can't be involved directly using military because if they do, the rest of the countries will attack. So I believe this is a very good step to helping the Syrian citizens, and I see no reason why they should not take it, even though they have internal problems. But you know that on a daily basis there's a lot of violations and massacres in Syria, and that should stop.
I mean, do you think that those non-governmental organizations still have impact on the Syrian regime, or they lost this influence?
I mean, on the regime itself, nothing has impact on the Syrian regime. The Syrian regime only has one goal, which is staying in power. Thank you.
Thank you all for your thoughtful participation in this process, hearing this resolution. As chairman, I simply want to remind you, I'm not going to make comment for or against the resolution, but just to remind you as a matter of practice among American states, a resolution like this would be unusual in that it addresses a foreign relations problem, which most states rarely do. In addition, it's very restricted in its language to sort of minimize any kind of conflict with American foreign policy, defense policy, military policy. So I'm just giving you some information about the thinking that goes in behind a resolution at this level of government. Having said that, it's time to take a roll call vote. So I will call each name. I hope I pronounce them correctly. And if you're for the measure, say aye. If you're against it, say nay. Our second segment takes place once again in a legislative hearing room here at the Capitol. The guests are high school students from Iraq. The host is Kelsea Kimerly, a member of our TVMT production crew. Their conversation is about what it's like to grow up in Iraq.
All right, so first question is, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions people in the United States, probably more so, in Montana, have about growing up in Iraq? We'll start over here.
When I tell the people that I'm from Iraq, they most of them think that in Iraq we don't have education, so the younger people are just like stupid persons, don't have a good education like here in the USA. Most of them think that we support the terrorism like Qaeda or like that, but actually we are just like you, living in high education and live in peace without care of those terrorists. Yep.
And then we'll go down the line. A lot of people, they have bad stereotypes of women in Iraq. They think that we don't have enough freedom, but it's totally the opposite of where I live. On the northern part of Iraq, there are a lot of women. They're in charge of political authorities. They run governmental places. They can drive. They can do anything. There's a lot of freedom for women as it is in the United States.
I think that most of the people across the world thought that Iraqi people grow in like poor environment, have wildlife. Personally, I heard an American when we were chatting together, he said that, you guys, I think that you are going to school on camels. So I said, no, we have technology, you have cars, we are living like as you are living. So we are not living in farly separated world. We are just like the other countries.
One thing here, I've gotten asked when I travel, because people kind of have that thought about Montana, if we ride horses to school and have to use an outhouse. I'm like, no, we have running water, we have electricity, we even have Google. Right?
So one of the misconceptions that I noticed here that about young marriage, that we get married when we are very young, or even when we enter the school or something, that is not really true. Some people are like, a lot of people dislike this because now with the modern life and technology, people are more, they get married at the age they think they are ready to. So it's a misconception.
All right, and then So because of the misconception, now you guys brought up a lot of things that were like there are a lot of similarities between, growing up in Iraq and growing up in the U.S. But what do you think are the biggest differences between growing up in Iraq and growing up here? We'll start over here again. We'll start at the end.
Okay, I think that freedom is the most important thing and different, because in here young people has got a lot of freedom, to make their activities the things that they like. Back there in Iraq, there are some things that you can't do because activities just like sports or like anything else. Yeah.
I think the most important thing that the support. Here in USA, when a group of students want to volunteer or do something, or they have an idea, a project to do it, they have the support from everyone, they have the sponsors. But in Iraq, we don't. If you have an idea, you should do your best and fight to get it, to do it. That's very important things. Yeah.
I think the most important thing is there's a bigger chance in the US, because in Iraq we don't have chances. We have a creative minds, we have talents. Also, we don't have support, like from the government, and we don't have chances.
So like he was saying, where young people here, there's things with, they want to build a house for somebody whose house burned down in a fire. They can contact Habitat for Humanity or other places, and then people donate, and then suddenly these young students are building a house. So those resources aren't available in Iraq, or career opportunities and funding for those kind of things.
I think the resources.
The resources?
Yeah.
We'll start here and then we'll go down again. Okay. The difference between the Iraqis and the Americans, which I see it's the biggest difference, is it's the family. Families back in Iraq, they're really tight families. They're always together. They won't leave each other. But yesterday, when I was having a conversation with my host family, I heard that when they're forced to move away from their family, so they're more independent, and they're like, if we move away, he was like, I'm planning to move away from my mother's house and to be independent, because I will leave my mom with less responsibilities, she'll be more free if I'm not there. But back in Iraq, that's, people stay with their families until they're married. We're really close, while I see that the American families are not.
Personally, I think that the biggest difference is the care for the youth. The government care in the US, care for their youth children. They know that they are the next generation. They know they will be the leaders of tomorrow. They will be the government of tomorrow. So they teach them how to become leaders, how they let them express their talents, they let them to experience the world, they let them to how they can manage themselves, because they are the future. They care for that. They let them do their ideas, make projects. In Iraq, I think we have a straight line of life, doing the same thing. I think, this is a standard. Studying, getting to college, having a job, a good career, having a family, and that's it. There is no special care for children and young people.